In 1978, Michael Myers changed Halloween forever the night he came home. Then he was swept away by a cult. And this October, he's back with his sidekick Man in Black in Halloween 666. The origin of Halloween 6. The Curse of Michael Myers. Halloween. The Curse of Michael Myers.
Alright, this is where they make Michael scary again. What up, party peoples? Bobo here with BrassReel Bobby. Thanks for coming back for some more popcorns. And we're here to talk about Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers, or Halloween 666. The origin of Michael Myers, or just Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers. They changed titles and cuts to this thing like crazy. However, the original theatrical release, I really liked. I think it was really well done, and it brought an original feel to Michael Myers and brought that scariness back. They don't waste any time with any recaps in this, because we all know the story at this point. But they just jump right back into this one as Jamie Lloyd as an adult, and she's having this baby. She's on this stretcher, but it looks like she's in this weird area, and it turns out to be like the lair of the Thorn cult. Remember in part 5, that stupid tattoo on Michael's wrist and the Man in Black? Well, they totally explained that in this one. Something I didn't mention about part 5 is that when they were filming that, they didn't even have a script, a full script at least. They wrote the Man in Black thing on the fly while they were shooting. And it shows. You can just tell that whole film was rushed. Production, writing, everything. It's a bad movie. It's the worst one. This one, it's years later. It was made in 1995. And at this point, slashers and things like that were starting to jump back around. They hadn't quite got there yet because Scream hadn't been released. Scream is the one that really reignited the whole genre. But I feel like this one doesn't get enough credit because this one still has a little bit of that vibe, modern vibe. One of my very few complaints about this film, though, is that Jamie Lloyd was not played by Danielle Harris. In fact, from what I understand, they didn't even ask her to come back for the role. Why wouldn't they? And after her jumping over hurdles to get in touch with them about it, they said, we only want to pay you the same as an extra because your character dies at the beginning of the film. She was the main thing that people liked about the last 2 movies, and she was continuing to be a working actress, like she still was working. Anyways, there's a video on YouTube you can check out where Danielle explains the whole thing. And it would have been more of a poetic death scene when Jamie ultimately gets killed, because yeah, she gets killed at the beginning of this movie. But only after she's allowed to give birth to the child that the cult wants. The Thorn cult wants her baby because it's still a Myers baby. It's in the bloodline. They're trying to explain that Myers and the whole serial killer thing that Michael Myers did was voices speaking to him. And there's this little boy now living in the Myers house, and that's the new family they focus on. His name's Danny. And because they live in the original Myers house, he's hearing these voices to tell him to kill his family. That's how they're trying to explain the whole thing with the Man in Black. They literally were trying to write their way out of the situation they got themselves into that Man in Black deal, which in my opinion, they did a pretty damn good job of it. I rewatched this one so much. I've watched it more than any other Halloween. I don't know why. I think maybe it was because when I was a teenager in 1995, I was really thirsty for more horror, and the fact that I'd loved Michael Myers already, maybe that has something to do with why I've seen it so much and why I love it so much, but I do think this is really well made. I love the tone. It's got this MTV vibe about it where this music is just way scarier. There's like these electric guitars in there when Michael's walking around. But they still use the original Halloween music in there too. It's just a nice hybrid. It's just updated. Feels good. Oh, and the good mask is back. They don't explain how he got it, and I don't care. Just got rid of those shitty masks from part 4 and 5. This Michael might be my scariest Michael of all the films. Not necessarily the scariest film, but Michael himself. He's just scary in this for some reason. And I think partially some of that has to do with the music. This one, hands down, has the best fall feeling of all of the movies, in my opinion. And it's got that Brother Kane song in there that I love. It sounds like Man in the Box, but I don't care. It's just very nostalgic. I was listening to that this morning. Part 4 and 5 were starting to get really just dull with the camera work, and just it felt very Hallmark feeling, if that makes any sense. This, you can tell they had somebody that was artistic behind the camera, which adds so much more to a horror film. If you can move the camera in the right ways, you can make an already scary plot twice as scary or almost make a not scary plot kinda scary. Loomis is back in this one, and he does have a pretty significant role, but he's pretty old in this one, and the movie's actually dedicated to him when the credits roll because he had died while this was in post-production. The whole premise is one of his old colleagues is asking him to go back to where he used to be a psychiatrist. Now he doesn't want to do that anymore though. While Loomis is telling him, no, I don't want to come back, he hears this broadcast on the radio of Jamie saying that Michael's after her. So let me rewind a little bit. At the beginning, when we saw Jamie having her baby, she's escaping from this cult lair thanks to this Amy Poehler lookalike that helped her get out of there. So Michael kills Jamie, but not before she can call into the station and start talking about Michael Myers. And this whole town in Haddonfield, Michael Myers is this legend, you know, these killings that happened back in the day. But Loomis doesn't take it lightly when he hears it. Remember, he's still got a relationship with Jamie. The true shining light in this film, though, is the introduction to the one and only Paul Rudd. Oh, yes!
Slapping the bass, man.
There you go.
Slapping that bass, man.
Paul Rudd plays Tommy, the little kid that Laurie Strode was babysitting in the first one. And he's kind of like one of the main characters in this movie. Him and Dr. Loomis are trying to convince their neighbors that, hey, those voices are going to start trying to tell Danny to kill the family. You guys got to get out of there. And then once they see Michael coming back, all these things start unfolding that all these people are involved with the cult around them. Even Paul Rudd's grandma that he lives with. But Donald Pleasant's boss that was asking him to come back, he's involved with the cult. In fact, that whole thing was a breeding ground for Michael Myers in the first place. Like I said, a little out there, but it was a decent way to write themselves out of the muck they got themselves in part 5. Tommy and Dr. Loomis are running around town looking for Jamie or looking for Michael, looking for something, and they find this baby stowed away in this subway station, and it's Jamie Lloyd's baby. Myers blood. And by the way Jamie gets killed in the beginning is pretty good. However, it would have been way more effective if Danielle Harris would have played the role. Now, after all that happens, we're focusing on this new family that's across the street from where Tommy lives. So the father of this new family that's living in the house is Laurie Strode's uncle, the brother of her father in the first one. And really that family's there for just a reason to Michael to come back into Haddonfield and start picking people off again. And he does. The dad at the house is this deadbeat. Michael blows his head up. He axes the mom to death in the backyard. The kills in this one are great though. The gore's back, the scariness is back. Michael is scary again. He's creeping around like he used to. The mask is good. There's this awesome bathroom kill scene where Michael sneaks up behind the uncle of Danny. And it's this whole foggy mirror scene. It's just really well done, and like I said, it stands out. It feels scary. Danny's mom's watching her friend get killed from across the street in her own bedroom. They quickly head to the mental hospital where it gets really dark and gothic, but I love it. They do this like slaughter scene with Michael Myers in this hospital operating room, and you get to see it from the outside of the windows. It's just really awesome and well done with the lighting and blood going everywhere. I just remember loving that when I first saw it. It just makes Michael seem like an unstoppable rebel force. The one thing that's a little weird in this is the way that they finally get Michael down. Paul Rudd just gets all these different syringes of chemicals and starts stabbing Michael and injecting with him. I guess it makes a little bit more sense than the way Loomis did it in 5 with just one dart. At least in this one, Paul just keeps injecting him with stuff. And then he smashes his head in with a pipe. Look, to me, this is one of the scariest ones, if you ask me, as far as the way the movie's filmed, the way it's shot, and the tone of it. I love Michael in this one. I love all the music and the guitars and everything and all the flashy lighting. I don't know, there's just something about this movie that really works for me. And it was a good way for them to write themselves out of that whole Thorn cult thing. I give Halloween: The Curse of Michael Myers an A-. Has a couple of tropes here and there, but overall, I think it's a lot of fun to watch. Really well made, and like I said, from what they had to deal with from part 5, they did a really good job of writing themselves out of it. Well, that'll do it for this review, guys. Thank you so much for clicking on the video. Hit the like button if you enjoyed it. Look for BrassReel Brothers on Facebook. Look for Bobby Williams on Facebook. Look for BrassReel Brothers on Twitter. And if you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button so you can help us make it to the top. And as always, if life gives you lemons, make some hot, fresh popcorns.